you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hello, this is Voss here from the Chris Voss Show.com. Ladies and gentlemen, there are things that makes official. Welcome to 16 years, 2,800 episodes of the Chris Voss Show, bringing you the most amazing minds every month. 48 new shows a month that are out there bouncing around the internet and just educating you, entertaining you, bringing you all the most smartest people and stuff. All that we ask from you is that you refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives. Goodreads.com/Chris Voss. YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, all / Chris Voss, one word. Be sure to follow us over there.
Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind.
Today, we have an amazing young man on the show. We're talking about his book that came out August 3rd, 2025, entitled The Parable of the 100 Sheep by Alex Fuleki. We're going to get into his book, what it's about, and maybe how it can improve the quality of your life, because that's what we do here in the Chris Voss Show. We're always trying to improve everyone's life. Rising tide lifts all boats, folks. So we're going to get into with him. We're going to talk about his background and everything else. Alex, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
It's wonderful to have you, sir. Give us any .coms, emails, contact, wherever you want people to maybe reach out to you on the internet.
No, other than the email, it is fine.
All right.
Nice.
Do you want to give your email out on the show so people have it, or it's up to you?
Alex Fuleki at AOL.com.
AOL.com. Still using the .com. That's been around for a long time.
Once you get old, you got to stick to certain things.
That's true.
I'm too old sometimes to change.
Yeah. Now, and as always, folks, you can find him on Amazon with the book or any major book publisher, I'm sure, or distributor. And there'll be a link for that on the Chris Voss Show. So, Alex, give us a 30,000 overview of what's inside this book.
It started with the Bible verse in Genesis 3:15, in which God, for the first time, revealed his plan to clean the universe from evil or solve the problem of evil. And I read this verse many, many times, but it never dawned on me that it has created a very great contradiction. God, in the verse, you see Christ presented as the seed of the woman who will crush the serpent and kill the serpent, and that will be the end of evil. Contradiction is, or the problem, maybe the word contradiction is too strong, but the problem is if we talk about a God who is self-existent, eternal, and doesn't depend on anything on outside of himself to exist, how can he die? How can he transfer himself into a sinful human body, sinful world, and die on the cross, literally, existential and real physical death? And that was the question that I was thinking about for a long time. And when God saw fit to give me the answer, he answered me through pointing my attention to the parable of the 100 sheep, in which Jesus clearly explains the details, how he is going to go about fulfilling his plan to rid the universe from evil or solve the problem of evil.
Yeah, you would think he could just wave a magic wand. He's supposed to be God and control the universe and just wipe evil. He can just be like, yeah, that's out of here. I mean, he built the world in 6 days or 7 days, right? Now, the parable of 100 sheep, what does that refer to? What is that reference?
When you read it, when you first read it, it doesn't make sense because it has contradiction. Here I could use the word contradictions of statements and ideas and facts. And that's number one. Number two, there is a strange emphasis on the number 100. And Jesus even illustrates it with a very elementary example, which should almost insult your intelligence. He says, when one wanders away, 99 left. So that was unnecessary unless there is something more important Jesus wants to say.
And so in your book, you have this thing you talk about. God created 100 unique planets with a special test for the man first on it. Tell us about that. And where's that in the Bible and stuff? Or how did you assimilate that knowledge?
In order for God to carry out his plan to rid the universe from evil, he had to create the platform in which he could carry this out. The platform was that first he created a universe in which we have the components of time, space, and matter. And then he created, in that universe, he created a solar system, which is our present place to live, with the sun and the moon and the earth, and with the same three characteristics: time, space, and matter. And the third, he created an earth, a special earth that was not created before. The reason why he had to have time, space, and matter is because death cannot take place outside of that. Only in the presence of time, space, and matter. And when you read the creation of this earth, 5 days God created things by pronouncing things to take place. He says, let there be light, so he created the sun. He says, let there be light at night, and he created the moon. He says, let there be birds and fish and animals and so on until the sixth day when he created man. Man was not pronounced to be alive. He didn't say, let there be an Adam. God said he created Adam out of the dust of the earth, which is what? Matter. It is matter. And this is an absolute necessity for God to have in order to die. Without matter, time and space, he could not die. And this is how I started to understand the parable of the 100 sheep, that God had to create a platform, a stage, ruled by time, so he could enter into time. In God's place in the universe, or in his kingdom, or eternity, whatever you want to call it, there is no time, there is no space, and there is no matter. So God had to create this. And this is how we have our universe, our solar system, and our unique Earth, which was never done before.
Now, does where are these other 99 planets at? I mean, how do we verify this data is real? Is there a scientific sort of thing, or how does that work?
Forgive me, I first part of a sentence, question I didn't understand.
So, where are the other 99?
Yes. 100 sheep, when God created the universe and created this earth, it was a unique creation because on it, he created a Garden of Eden. In the garden, he had two trees, the tree of the good and knowledge of evil and the tree of life. And when he created man, he instructed him to eat one fruit, but do not eat the other. Why did he do that? Because God needed a sinful human being into whom he could transfer, he could enter into time and actually, literally, existentially die physically. Without this, without the sin of Adam coming in a sinful body, God could not accomplish his goal.
It's an interesting thing. Do you find a lot of people are accepting of that theory that you have espoused in the book?
One more thought to it. First question. It's God kept creating these earths with the time of probation given to the first man, and he created 100 before the wrong choice was made. Adam in each of these gardens had to choose between his eternal life or eternal death. And 99 chose life. And on the 100th planet, which was created and documented in the Gospel, book of Genesis, chapter 2, will inform us that this 100th planet failed and succumbed to the temptation of Satan and introduced evil. And that immediately gave Jesus the green light to prepare and enter into a sinful man.
Oh.
If I may summarize everything, what I say summarized in one verse in the Bible. Book of Hebrews, chapter 2, verse 14. Inasmuch then as the children have partaken of flesh and blood, he himself likewise shared in the same, that through death he might destroy him who had the power over death, that is, the devil. This is a beautiful summary of everything what so far we have talked about.
No. Now, so you wrote the book. Why did you feel you needed to write the book? What was the proponent? Was there an aha moment where you were like, I really need to write a book about this? What was the proponent behind that?
First of all, I was beyond description how happy I was that God gave me the honor to reveal this particular detail, which has never been done anywhere in 6,000 years. This is, I believe, this is the first time we are given the detail how God is going to accomplish his work. And now if somebody will find another way, I will be glad to acknowledge my mistake. But I think this is the first time I'm not mistaken. And the other thing that inspired me is that the Christian church in the last 2,000 years has drifted from this majestic plan that God had revealed, and demanded in it an inner transformation so that we could be ready to live with God again without sin. The church has drifted from this and established itself as a religion and mainly focusing on dogmas and beliefs and various other ideas that has nothing to do with our salvation. And the Christian church is not a religion. Christianity, rather, is not a religion, but the transformation of the soul by the mercy and grace of God without sin. And that requires a spiritual life, not a religious life. Yeah, and we could see how religion is damaging everybody. If we talk about, for example, now, if you ask me religion, let's talk about this religion. My religion is right, your religion is wrong. We end up arguing, accomplishing nothing, and this will not take us to heaven. Argument, hatred, differential opinions will not take us to heaven. But transformation from sin of any kind to stand before God sinless, that will allow us to live for it. That's the main difference.
So who would you say is going to benefit your book, and what do you hope they come away with after reading it?
First of all, I would like to see the theologians, Christian theologians, take this book and take it seriously, study it, and see that the Holy Spirit will give them the same answer He gave me. And the Bible students, the ministers of the church, and the members of the church who have taken the sanctification seriously in their lives and made a serious effort to live according to the will of God, they would benefit greatly.
And you feel that they're not doing that now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And it should be not because I want a sale or anything. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm not interested in that. I am interested in passing on this most important commandment from God, that we must be without sin to stand before Him. The only way you could do it is to live a spiritual life described very detailed in the New Testament.
No, it's an interesting book. You've got a lot in there. Now, one of the things you talk about is asking readers to rethink the role of evil. What does that mean? And how does that reinterpretation hold up?
What kind of evil? You use an adjective.
Evidently, the role of...
the role of evil.
Yeah.
Yes, sin has always been minimized right from the beginning. It started as a very small, insignificant act by Adam and Eve. God says, don't eat the fruit. So they said, the fruit looks good. Why not? So it's a harmless, insignificant act. Still, you see the result. Most sins that we commit are like that. Insignificant, not important, until the consequences are beyond our strength to handle. And this is the problem. And today, as Christianity becomes more worldly, more mingled with worldly wisdom and worldly explanation of things, again you see sin is minimized. It's a mistake. It's a human error. To sin, to err is human. And they have all kinds of slogans to justify it. But they don't realize that all these mistakes, what they create in the world, look around in the world and see the chaos and the deterioration of morality and the murder, the suicide, drug addiction, wars, hatred. And even Christians do not consider this seriously. And they say, we don't mind if I don't care about forgiveness because I don't forgive you, but I won't remember. This is one of the prime examples they use to justify sin, to have it in the heart. But this doesn't work with God. God wants us to be sinless. Bottom line.
Why? Let me ask you this. I mean, this is a pretty big universe. We just launched stuff into space. Another thing is going to the moon. We're traveling farther than we've ever traveled through space. What scientific basis does this sin have? It seems like we dress up sin as some sort of utility for some being in the sky that we never see and have no proof of, really, other than what some people wrote in a book thousands of years ago, who didn't understand science or molecular biology or anything else. I'm really confused on what the utility of sin is. It seems like, because if I sin, do you believe that if I sin I go to hell, or is it just the utility of sin? Because I'm kind of getting the impression that's what you're saying is sin is just a utility.
Unfortunately, the church, the theologians, the ministers did not study and emphasize the effect of sin. I wrote a book once, I don't know which one is behind me, 5 books, in which I have listed the sins that the Apostle Paul listed in the New Testament. There were 83 sins that the church has never paid attention to, and they don't care about. It took an outside influence to call the church to their attention to the fact that sin is this very, very powerful force that cannot be controlled. And the atheists in the world were the first to accuse the church for not clarifying the meaning of sin. They said, why do evil and destruction and death have to exist side by side with God, whom you Christians call the God of love? What's the point?
It's not very loving.
Yes, so what's the point? And the church was silent. They could not explain it. The only reason Jesus came to this world, he entered into time, is to end the rule of evil. Any other discussion is futility. This is where true theology should start and should end.
Let me ask you this. I mean, I think I kind of understand all this, but as we go out, give people a final pitch out is there anything we missed maybe that you want to tease people out? They got to buy the book to learn a lot of this stuff. Is there anything else you want to tease out before we go?
No. You asked me the very most important questions, and I sincerely hope that I answered according to the standard of the Bible, not according to my own wisdom and knowledge. And I am very, very thankful and that you gave me this opportunity to discuss the main purpose of this book.
Sounds good then. Thank you very much for coming on. We really appreciate it. Alex, thank you for all that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thanks very much for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss, one of the TikTok, and all this crazy place on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next.
You've been listening to the most amazing, intelligent podcast ever made to improve your brain and your life. Warning, consuming too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast can lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, and irresistible sexy. Consume in regularly moderated amounts. Consult a doctor for any resulting brain bleed.
All right, Alex, great show. Great job.